There are so many sizes. And if you want illustrations, you need to know your book size before you approach the illustrator. You're probably saying, Charmaine, how do I do that? You want to go online and you can research just different sizes of books based off of the genre that you want to write in. If you had a standard piece of paper, that's 8.5 by 11. If you think your book is a good size there, fine. Buy some books in that size and see if it speaks to you. Is it heavy enough? How many pages is in that book? The larger the size, the more pages you will need for it to look like a good size. This right here is probably one of my favorite notebooks, but you see how it has a lot of sheets of paper here? There's maybe 200 or 300 sheets of paper here. But this is a very small notebook in comparison to the size of a sheet of paper. So you want to keep that in mind. The other piece here is there's 3 formats that speak to illustration. It's a different format for ebook illustrations versus hardcover illustrations and paperback illustrations. It's a little bit different for each, and you will need to know what you want before you hire an illustrator. You're probably saying, okay, Charmaine, that's a lot, right? So I said, okay, let me give a real example. In terms of vision, you need to research. You also want to create detailed illustration notes so that your vision becomes a reality on paper. Here's an example from one of my books. In this, I was writing a story for military children. Like myself, I tell you guys, I grew up and I've lived all over the world. I spent 3 years in Turkey and most of my life in Europe. So I researched different images around this theme. I looked up keywords and I read books that are geared towards military families. I said, I'm going to find some graphics that speak to the vision that's in my mind. And that's when I found these graphics here. This was just a simple Google search. The main character, you see this little girl here with very long hair. I said, oh, I love her look. I want my character to be similar to her. And then I chose the mom character, and you see the dad character as well. And I started to create some notes around this. I said, okay, this is what I want the family to look like. But the image on the left, I said, I like this style of illustration. It's cartoonish, it's fun, it's playful. And remember, I am trying to speak to a child who's going to read the book. I want to make sure that the graphics are not too high level. It wants to speak to that age group. I used this. I sent this to an illustrator, a potential illustrator, and I received the test illustration. You pay a small amount of money for a test illustration. Now, when I got my information back, I asked them for edits based off of the skin tone that I want for the character and other features. Like I said, I want the dad's nose a little bit straighter. I want the child's mouth a little bit wider. So things like that, you're able to massage if you give them a very good, just kind of a frame as to what you want for your illustration. On the bottom right, it says, yes, people actually judge book by their covers. Yes, they do. We say you shouldn't, but everyone judges a book by its cover. And you got to ask yourself with what you want, is it catchy? Would you buy it? Or would you walk right by it on the shelf? Or in this digital world, will you keep scrolling on Amazon because the cover doesn't stand out to you? So I'm going to pause right there and ask if there's maybe one question you want to throw in the chat. All right, so did you use just one illustrator for the test illustration and choose the same illustrator? Very good question, Felicia. I like to use 3 illustrators. I will get a test illustration from 3 different individuals. Why? Because think about even children, they grow up in the same household, 3 kids, 3 very different perspectives. And so I like to have a choice, okay? You could ask a test illustration for a very short amount of money. And that way you have a clear vision of what this person is capable of before you invest fully and commit to this is now my illustrator. You want to know a little bit more about them. So great question. And that leads us into this. On the left side, that's how it started. This vision in my mind of this pretty little girl, her dad who's kind of straight-laced, her mom who seems very fun-loving. I said, this is what I would like it to look like. After several revisions, on the right, this is the cover of the book that's out there. And you can see, if you look closely, you can maybe see a little elements of the dad and the mom and the daughter in the characters on the right. Maybe you see a little similarity, probably not much, but you do see a little bit there. You also want to make sure you have age-appropriate illustrations. Now, everyone may not be creating a children's book, and so I thought we would talk about cover art.